Welcome to the Robotics Through Science Fiction podcast. I'm Robin Murphy, and I want to offer my take on the controversy over the late Harlan Ellison's contributions to the great robot movie, The Terminator. Harlan Ellison, a true science fiction master, rarely wrote about robots. He was much more focused on people and the psychological quirks and interactions, particularly under horrifying or extraordinary conditions. See the short stories I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream and Jeffty is 5. Oddly, despite his many achievements as a grand master of the short story form, many people remember him for a tacked-on credit saying his work inspired the Terminator. Ellison loudly began a lawsuit against James Cameron, which was never filed, and settled out of court with a mum's the word agreement not to divulge the details. David Brennan, writing on James Cameron Online, jamescamerononline.com/ellison.htm, is the most cogent explanation for the charges and the settlements that I've read, and I recommend reading it. Brennan notes that everyone assumes that Ellison's 1964 Demon with a Glass Hand episode of The Outer Limits was the source of the inspiration. The Outer Limits was a sci-fi anthology that ran from 1963 to 1965, sort of the Black Mirror or X-Files of its day. Brennan argues that the more plausible episode was Ellison's 1965 episode Soldier, but then offers another explanation for the threat and lawsuit. Again, read his article. I won't spoil it here. So were either episode a plausible source of inspiration? I watched both episodes of The Outer Limits on YouTube, and my conclusion is no. But I do think The Terminator in some way touches upon the emotional nerves exposed in The Outer Limits. Certainly Cameron replicated the vibe of a good Outer Limits episode, but not any details. Let's start with the award-winning Demon with a Glass Hand. The protagonist, Trent, is a man who has woken up 10 days earlier in the 1960s and is being chased by human-looking aliens. He has a glass hand with 3 missing fingers and amnesia. The hand is a computer, but its functionality is limited without the 3 missing fingers, so Trent must recover the fingers. He begins a cat-and-mouse search for the glass hand's missing fingers in the aliens' headquarters in an office building, the Bradbury Building, which was Sebastian's apartment building in Blade Runner. There he enlists the aid of a business woman, Consuela, who is working late. Along the way, he discovers that both he and the aliens are from 1800 years in the future, and there's no sure way back to the future using the technology that got them here. The woman becomes infatuated with Trent, and Trent eventually, despite being focused on his task of recovering the missing fingers, softens to her. And then Trent discovers he's a robot. It's not just the glass hand. He's been sent back into the past with the digital recording of 70 billion people and will have to live for over 2,000 years to return the people to a time when the invading aliens have been driven off and it's safe for humans. Stunned by the discovery and the implications of having to live for 2,000 years, he reaches to Consuela. Consuela recoils as if he were a demon and leaves. Trent's reward for saving humanity will be to go it alone. If Green Day's Boulevard of Broken Dreams had existed in 1964, it would be blasting over the end credits. Other than a robot going back in time, there is no direct similarity to the Terminator. If anything, Trent, with his pervasive sadness and determination, is a bit reminiscent of Reese, not the Terminator. When the tightly wound Trent tries to convince Consuela that he's from the future and trying to save the world, it has the same emotional feel as Reese trying to explain what's going on to Sarah Connor. And when Trent reaches out to Consuela, it's like Reese letting his guard down and taking a chance to be happy in his short, battered life. Except, heartbreakingly, unlike Sarah Connor, Consuela rejects Trent. The 1965 episode Soldier was singled out by Brennan as being the most likely, from a legal perspective, to be seen as similar to the Terminator, though Brennan argues it can't have been the real basis for the lawsuit. Again, I suggest you read his article. Soldier begins with a desolate landscape with laser death beams flashing everywhere, and the voiceover explains the soldiers have been raised since birth with nothing but the urge to kill the enemy. Two soldiers engage in fighting each other, get in the cross beam of two laser death beams, and find themselves in a swirling time vortex. One soldier, played by Michael Ansara, Klingon General King from Star Trek, appears to be falling through the time vortex faster than the other soldier, and the next thing we know, he has landed in an alley in a city. After trying to shoot a newsstand proprietor who's using a knife to cut the string on a bale of papers, he's picked up by the police. The government soon realizes that he has to be an alien or something. A linguist starts working with the soldier, whose name is Corlo, and begins to decipher his language and background. It's clear that Corlo is intelligence, but his intelligence has been suborned by decades of conditioning to only kill the enemy. To accelerate understanding, the linguist brings Corlo home to his perfect family, literally, wife and pearls, and a teenage daughter and son who are respectful and clean-cut. The family discovers that Corlo has a grim background that makes Kurt Russell's life in the 1998 movie, also named Soldier, look like a cakewalk. We, the audience, can't help think Corlo would be better off as a robot. When the enemy soldier finally arrives, he hunts down Corlo at the family home. Corlo attacks, the two soldiers kill each other and vanish. But in a lovely moment of ambiguity, Corlo's fighting may have maximized shielding the family. Did Corlo finally get enough of a normal life to feel a moment of love and protectiveness? Or was it just a simple reflexive kill the enemy programming? We don't know. It's hard not to get teary-eyed, either thinking about how horrible Corlo's reduced to a machine life was, or that when he finally gets to feel a bit of humanness, it's game over. The similarity to the Terminator is pretty much limited to that part where the two soldiers from the future arrive in an alley. The soldiers don't arrive naked. They don't whoop ass on street punks. Special effects are non-existent. Hard to see a lawsuit-worthy connection there. But certainly Cameron took the entire Outer Limits and Twilight Zone vibe and all the B-grade movies that had a touch of, something, and made it into the Terminator. The two Harlan Ellison episodes serve as a reminder of how many ideas are floating around in the universe and how they often boil down to how the characters try to make a connection with others. If you get a chance, watch the episodes and enjoy. I'm confident that you, like me, will easily see past the cheesy theatrical makeup, the amusingly primitive special effects, the continuity errors, and all the sorts of things that marked early TV series, and see the part that resonates. These episodes shouldn't work, and they do, and in the end, they touch the human heart. Like Ellison said, he writes about people, and that was enough for a laudable career. Rest in peace, Harlan. Thank you for being a writer.